Get a microphone to Jeff, please.
Jeff Zilgett, USA Today. Adam, why was lottery reform right for the league right now?
I felt lottery reform was important because there was a perception in many of our communities that the best path to rebuilding their teams was to race to the bottom. I don't necessarily agree that that's the optimal strategy to create a great team, but it became currency in this league. So much so that there were situations in many of our team communities where the team felt under pressure to engage in that strategy, even when they didn't think that was the best strategy to build their team. In addition, there's no question that the analytics were suggesting that a plausible strategy was to be bad, not to suggest they were intentionally losing games, but to be bad, to trade away otherwise very serviceable players and embark on a strategy that required them to, in essence, field poor teams, which they believe would give them the best chance to improve over the long term. And I felt it was corrosive to this league, and that what we did was a compromise, in effect. I think that what we've put in place is far from perfect. I think what it does is it flattens the odds among the worst performing teams going into the lottery, so that there's no longer an incentive to try to calibrate between the worst record and the second worst record and the second worst record and the third worst record, but at the same time recognizes that poor performing teams do need to get high draft picks as a legitimate way to rebuild their team. So I think it's a combination of perception, but substance too. That I think that the teams, there was too great an incentive for teams to embark on that strategy under the current odds.
Third row on the right. Steve?
Steve Ashburner, NBA.com. You started off by talking about how the lottery odds will be lessened for the teams with the worst records, and the whole philosophy of a draft is that the neediest teams get help. So I'm wondering, was there any discussion of somehow monitoring or addressing this in real time as the season plays out, as opposed to take away the brass ring at the back end of the season?
Steve, we do monitor it as the season plays out, but I think, as you know, we're talking about season-long strategies in certain cases towards rebuilding teams. So I think clearly the league would step in if we ever thought there was something untoward happening. But it's, again, I think this was, we were looking holistically to sort of change incentives rather than just look particularly at a given game, if that's what you're suggesting.